Hello everybody, welcome back. This is Georgiana with Expressions Craft Studio. And on I guess we're on week 16, I believe, of Project Christmas Cheer. And I decided to try and make some rather simple easel cards. And I thought a Christmas bell might be cute. I started on this last night and then I ran into some problems with Design Space, so I kind of had to shut it down. And resume again this morning, but I thought I'd walk you through the steps of how I go about creating an easel card with the shapes that are already located, or the images in Design Space. So the first thing you want to do once you've got your canvas opened and ready to go, which this is your canvas, is you're going to want to go to Images, and then you're going to search for, I'm going to search for Christmas bells. But you'd use whatever search criteria you want. So now I'm going to look for bells that I think will reshape nicely into a Christmas card. And I'm just scrolling. There's a lot of bells here. I tried working on some yesterday that had some different flowers, leaves, and stuff at the top like this one does, and they were a little harder to work with. So I'm just, for the sake of keeping this simple, we're just going to select this bell right here, and we're going to add it to our canvas, and we're just going to scroll down a little bit, and we'll work down here. So the first thing I like to do is kind of get it to the size I want, which is generally 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So these don't work out quite right, but this one actually works out pretty close. So we'll go with this one. And as you can see over here in the layers panel, this bell actually consists of 2 pieces. So I'm going to merge them or weld them so that it's just one piece. Well, now I'm wishing I kind of hadn't done that. So I'm going to Control Z just to undo that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it. So Control D, or you can hit your little plus over here. So now I'm going to weld this one. So go down to Combine and Weld. Except I think I went past the weld. So there we go. All right, so now I want to duplicate this as one piece, and I want to flip this one vertically, and I kind of just want to figure out where I want the fold to be. Don't want it too thin, so I think we'll go with something like that. And then I'm going to select both pieces, and I just want to make sure that they're properly aligned. So I'm going to do a line left, but you could also do a line right, but you want to make sure that they're lined up properly. And then we're going to weld this. So now that that's one piece, we're going to insert our score line, which is found under the shapes, and it's the very first one. So now you have to flip this because we need our score line to go left to right, not up and down. I generally tend to just do a rotate 90 degrees. A lot of people like to click and shift or control whatever it is and then drag it. You can do it however you want. For me, the 90 degrees works pretty good, and I don't have to think about, do I need the shift key or the control key? So that's roughly lined up. So now I want to select both the bells in the background, which is the card base, and the score line, and I'm just going to center that. And then I'm going to, well, I'm not going to attach it yet because I have one more layer to do. So now I'm going to duplicate this score line. Again, we're going back to our pluses here. I'm going to drag it over, and somewhere in here I know I'm going to want to fold this in half. So I might go a little bit lower with it just because the bell's down there. Although I don't want to go too low because then it gets top heavy. All right, I'm saying we'll leave it there. Okay, so now I'm going to attach all of that. So this whole piece here will be our card base. It will fold in the middle, and then again it will fold here, and that's the easel part that will flip up. And this, I'm going to bring that back to the front, will go on the front, and you can decorate this however you want. You could add a reindeer to it, snowflake to it. You could add your what do I want? The sentiment, Christmas sentiment to it. That's up to you. Let's see, what would we want to add to that? Maybe, well, let's look under shapes and just see what we have. Because they have added, oh, well, that might work. This segmental arch. What else do we have? Okay, let's try that just to see, just for curiosity's sake. So the first thing we're going to do is flip it, because that's upside down. And then we're going to turn off our locking feature so that we can reshape it however we need to. I don't think this is going to work just because the way it's shaped. Oh, but you know, I know what we could do. So okay, so I'm going to duplicate this piece here, just the bell part. I don't need the rest of it. And I don't know where it went. Did I not duplicate? I did. There it is. Having some glitches with this since yesterday. Come on, scroll up for me. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one here. I think I might do two, so let's go ahead and add another one. Okay, so let's align those horizontally. Yeah, and then I'm going to weld them so that it's one piece. And then after I select all of those, I'm going to slice. Let's see what we get here. And there we have some pieces for our bell. And then we can get rid of all of this, or yeah, we'll just get rid of all this. So there you go. That is one way to do your bell. Let's group that. Say you wanted to add something else to it. Let's just go into images over here. And let's just search for Christmas in general. Is Christmas a graphics theme? Celebrations, holidays. Let's do holidays. And then we can select Christmas. Oh, there's a lot of stuff out there, but the snowflakes are cute. Gosh, it shouldn't be so hard to pick a snowflake, should it? But maybe I don't want a snowflake. Maybe I want an angel or holly berries, or maybe a Santa or snowman. So see, there's all kinds of images. You can choose whatever you like. Keep in mind, you know, how you're going to, you know, if you're going to draw it or cut it, you know, how that's going to look on your piece. Oh, that tree's kind of interesting. So I always do that. I'm going to add that to our canvas. Now, if I were going to cut this, I would probably cut it out of vinyl because it's pretty, got some pretty fine, intricate points on it. Yeah, I don't really love that, but you get the idea. Oops, would look better. Oh, I've grouped it all. Let me ungroup it, and then let me move these out of the way. Then you could put that on there. So I think a snowflake would look better, but you know, just trying to throw out some different ideas there. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to put these back over. And one of the things I've considered doing, I haven't done it a lot, but I'm going to duplicate this piece. And then I'm going to take this piece and this top part here. Well, actually, before I do that, I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to turn it into score. There we go, score lines. And I want to attach it to that piece. And what that will do is it will just help me know where to line these up when I go to place, when I go to place these on the bell later. Okay, now, I don't really like that mustardy color. So let's change it. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Let's just group all that together. It must already be grouped together. Nope, there we go. So anyway, aside from all the rambling, you can see how I do that. These were the ones I did yesterday. I'm going to try to cut some out today, see how they go. This one may or may not cut out very well. We'll see. I like this plain one because then I can decorate the front any way I want. Just same with this one, but I threw the snowflake on there just, you know, to see how it would look. But yeah, it's just some different stuff, different looks for some Christmas Bell Easel Cards. So let's go ahead and save this again because I lost my work several times yesterday when it locked up on me. All right. So now let's go and see. I'm going to get a new canvas. All right, so I've gone ahead and put together most of the cards. I've kept a couple just to show you how I did it. But I've created the easel cards that, well, we actually created them in Cricut Design Space. And I went ahead and cut everything out. Then I did some embossing, as you can see. I embossed the front bell, and then I used some paint to go over it, and I kind of just did a dry rub with my finger, just put a little drop of the paint on a piece of paper and then just kind of tapped most of it off and then just rubbed it on gently. And oh my, look at my fingernails. Okay, well, I need to fix that. But anyway, I just dry rubbed it over just to give it a little extra depth and to help pull out that embossing a little bit more. So you can see how you attach the front bell to the folded piece of the card so that we've created our easel. And we're just going to start gluing our pieces on. So I've created a couple different styles of the poinsettia. One of them is just a flat stamped poinsettia that is then die cut. And the other one, which you may show up on one of these other cards later, is actually a dimensional die cut that was 3 layers, I believe. I only did a couple of those. I mostly did these flat ones. But I like to keep the cards a little bit flatter for mailing purposes. So I'm pretty happy with it. Now I will show you later how I colored in these stems, or I guess the veins of the leaves. But now I'm just going to glue these in. And you can place these however you want. It's really up to you. I just kind of liked this particular layout. And what I did was I created the layout on one of the cards. I ended up with like 10 cards, I think. So I created the layout on one of the cards, and then before I glued everything down on that card, I went and put some other cards together and left that one laying there so that I could kind of remember how I'd put it all together. Had a little trouble because I've cut my nails, so I had a little trouble picking up the edge of that flower, that poinsettia. Now these bells are actually small enough that the recipient could even hang them on the tree if they wanted. You'd want to hang all of the, you'd want your tie to go through all of the pieces so that it didn't flop open, since it is an easel card. But that is an option for somebody if they have limited space or whatever. Of course, if they have limited space, they might not have a Christmas tree, so. And they could definitely be made smaller if that was something that you were interested in doing. And they wouldn't even have to be an easel card. They could just be a card that opens up at the top, and then you could tie it at the top and it wouldn't matter, if that makes sense. It may not, but if it does, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm just giving the glue a little bit more time to hold, because I did find it took a little bit longer on top of that paint, that dried paint. Now here, I took and I colored in with a gold marker the little dots on the stamp, just to add a little bit more holiday kind of coloring. And I just used a Cricut marker. It's gold, which I cannot get the print to show up on the camera, but it's just a gold Cricut marker. Now there are all kinds of companies that make gold markers, so this was just one of several that I had in my stash. It was the first one I grabbed. So, and I'm just going to color in these little buds or whatever they are, seeds, or I'm not even really sure, pods. And I'm going to color it in with the gold marker, and I'm going to let that dry a little bit. And then I'm going to come back with my glitter marker, glitter pen, and just put a little bitty dot of this gold glitter pen on the inside of each one. And I just kind of randomly draw it in. It's not rocket science, at least not as far as I'm concerned. So I just kind of just put my pen down and make a little circle to fill it in. And the thing that I did notice when I went back and watched this is the gold doesn't show up really well on the camera, but it does show up much better in person. And you can see it there a little bit, but again, it is a lot more obvious in person. So I've gone ahead and colored in my leaves, but I left at least one, maybe two here, to see if I can show you how I did those. Yeah, I've got two. So one of them I'm just going to color in with the glitter pen, and then I'll color the other one in with first the gold pen and then add the glitter over the top of it. And the dies for these, I believe, were Stampin' Up! Dies, and they almost punched that all the way out, so I had to kind of realign it a little bit. But as I'm going over it with the glitter pen, I don't know if my pen's just kind of running out of ink or if it's just not showing up that well on the green, because in all of the others I did color it in first, like I'm doing here with the gold, and then once I've let the gold dry, then I go back over it with the glitter pen, and that just helps, you know, add a little extra interest, in my opinion. So we'll go back and add our little dots again to our whatever this is. I mean, I don't know, it's some kind of little berry thing. It was all in the same set of stamps, which I believe has been discontinued, but I wouldn't swear to it. I believe it was the Pointsettia Petals bundle from Stampin' Up! So you can kind of see the difference here. The one with just the glitter pen doesn't show up as well as the one with the gold underneath it. But again, that's just personal preference. And maybe it'd show up different on a different color of green cardstock. And you don't even have to color them in if you don't want. It's just, you know, personal preference. You do you. So I'm going to glue this, what I believe is the last piece for this one, on the top of the card. And then we will assemble the inside of the card. And then I did end up with a couple of extra card fronts, or that's what they essentially were, but I didn't want to cut out any more easel cards, so what I'll probably do is just attach the bells to a flat, standard card base. So I used dimensionals to put on the back of the sentiment, and these were some pre-cut sentiment strips I had done from a year or two before. I made way too many, and so I'm still using them up. And I just kind of eyeball it here and figure out where I want it. Now, you can see I did emboss the bottom part of the inside of the card for the bell part. I just felt like it needed a little extra something. When I looked at it without the embossing, because this gray cardstock is so plain and flat, it felt to me like it needed that little extra something. But again, that's totally up to you, whether or not you choose to do any extra embossing or not. And there's certainly all kinds of other ways that you could decorate it to dress it up a little bit. So most of the cards I actually used this stamp with like the pine branch or evergreen branch, but this time I decided to use, it looks more like a holly leaf to me, but it's in this poinsettia set. And you can see here I pick up the pine branch or the evergreen branch, and it just, yeah, I used it on most of the others, but this time, since I had one of these extra leaves, I decided that I would go ahead and use it just because I like it better. So finish adding some glue to this piece. And then we'll put just the flat bell that'll go on a standard card base by itself together. And it's mostly the same. There's one or two subtle differences, but for the most part it goes together the same way. And you can see your little card, when it's all done, stands up and is ready to go. And I just need to put my label on the back, and it's all set. And there's a little bit of room inside for a sentiment. There's also a little bit of room on the very back if you want to write something. Like I said, I like to hold the glue a little bit longer with these because of the embossing, so it's not a solid flat surface behind there, and because of the dried paint on there. I feel like I want to make sure it's good and stuck down before I start moving a bunch of stuff around. And all of these extra pieces, the flowers, the leaves, the extra fill greenery, whatever you want to call it, was all cut out of scraps that I had. And I don't use a lot of red, so I actually did end up using almost all of my red scraps, but these pieces were all so small. Even the flowers themselves all were cut out of scrap cardstock. And I have one little extra piece left over from the inside of the card. And this is another little poinsettia. This is a 2 layers. And I'm just going to add that to the front of this one since I have an extra one. And that will go on the front of the card. I'm not sure yet if it'll go at the top or at the bottom of the bell. That has yet to be determined. I'll put my pen back in my glue, and we'll kind of pull some of these out. Oh, first I need to add a cardinal. I did not put one of these little cardinals on all of them, just a couple, but I felt like it needed this one, you know, could use one. Of course, that means I got to get my glue back out. Can't pick it up or cut my fingernails. Probably should be using tweezers. It would be a little easier to hang on to this tiny little cardinal. And I know it's not truly a cardinal, but it's red, so we're calling it a cardinal. Okay, so we'll pull out here a couple of the other finished cards just so you can see. I did end up with quite a few. There's, let's see, 8 easel cards and then 3 more that'll just go on a regular standard fold card. Plus a few spare bits that you can see up in the upper left corner there.